Hey everyone, in this video, we'll uncover the most valuable Abraham Lincoln wheat penny you should be on the lookout for. We'll break down what makes these Lincoln wheat pennies so special, how much they're worth in today's market, and what you need to know to sell them successfully at auction. First up, the 1927D. Abraham Lincoln wheat penny. This coin features the D Mint mark, was struck at the Denver Mint, and is found in good condition with some scratches. Whether you're a coin enthusiast or simply curious about what your old pennies are worth, this video will guide you through everything you need to know about this particular .some Lincoln cent. Let's start with a little historical context. The 1927D. Lincoln wheat penny was minted during a time when the United States was still enjoying the economic prosperity of the Roaring '20s. Even though the country hadn't yet fallen into the Great Depression, money was still valued carefully, and coin designs like the Lincoln cent remain simple yet iconic. The obverse of the coin showcases a right-facing portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Around the edge of the coin, you'll see the familiar inscriptions "In God We Trust" at the top, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1927 to the right. Just beneath the date, the small D Mint mark identifies this coin as a product of the Denver Mint. The reverse side of the penny features two stylized wheat stalks bordering the inscriptions, 1 cent and United States of America, with the phrase "E pluribus unum" above all, part of the classic wheat penny design that was in use from 1909 to 1958. In terms of mintage, the Denver Mint struck 27,170,000 Lincoln cents in 1927. That figure is relatively moderate compared to other years in the wheat penny series. And while the 1927D is not considered extremely rare, it's certainly less common than later-date wheat pennies from the 1940s and 1950s. Coins from the 1920s are now closing in on 100 years old, and examples in collectible condition are always in demand from collectors seeking to complete early Lincoln sets. Now let's talk about condition. The coin you have is described as being in good condition with some scratches. In coin grading terms, good is one of the lower circulated grades, often abbreviated as G4. A coin in this grade will show significant wear, and many of the finer details will be worn smooth from circulation. Lincoln's outline will still be visible, but the hair, jaw, and cheek details will be heavily worn. The reverse will have flattened wheat stalks and smooth fields. Still, the date, mint mark, and key inscriptions remain readable, which is important for identifying and valuing the coin. The scratches on your coin are a common sign of circulation, while minor surface scratches are expected in older coins. Deeper or heavy damage can reduce a coin's value further, depending on location and severity. However, collectors who are focused on assembling full-date tanned mint sets often accept lower-grade coins for harder-to-find years, especially if they're on a budget or working toward a complete historical set. The composition of the 1927D wheat penny is 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, typical for all Lincoln cents made before 1943. Over time, copper coins can develop a brown or reddish tone depending on storage and exposure to moisture or air. Some collectors prefer coins with more original red color, but circulated examples are usually found in brown or darker shades. Now, let's move on to market value. A 1927D Lincoln wheat penny in good condition with average wear and scratches typically sells for $1.25 to $2 in today's market. The value may vary slightly depending on demand, the specific appearance of your coin, and whether a buyer is looking for that particular date and mint mark. In higher grades like fine, very fine, or extra fine, the value increases significantly in extra fine condition. The coin could fetch around $8 to $12 or more, and in uncirculated mint state condition, Values can range from $40 to $150 or more, depending on luster and color. Because your coin is in good condition with scratches, its value will stay toward the lower end of the price spectrum. But it's still far above face value and represents a valuable piece of numismatic history. It's a coin with character, worn by time, passed through countless hands, and still a part of American heritage nearly 100 years later. Finally, collectors should always keep an eye out for any die errors or varieties, even on older coins. While there are no major known errors specific to the 1927D issue, it's always worth inspecting for doubling on the date or mint mark, misaligned strikes, or repunched mint marks, all of which could enhance the coin's value. In conclusion, your 1927D Lincoln Wheat Penny, with its D mint mark, good condition, and some scratches, holds both historical and collectible value. Next up, the 1945 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny, without a mint mark. This coin is in fine condition, showing some signs of circulation and a few scratches, but still holds both historical importance and collector interest. If you've come across one of these coins in your pocket change, a family collection, or your own coin jar, you may be wondering just how much it's worth today. Let's take a closer look. The 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny was minted during the final year of World War II, a time when the United States was fully focused on the war effort. The Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for over 3 decades, and its design remained unchanged, a tribute to President Abraham Lincoln, who was the first real person ever featured on a U.S. coin in general circulation. Designed by Victor Che. David Brenner, the obverse of the coin shows a profile of Abraham Lincoln facing right. Above his head are the words "In God We Trust" to the left. You'll see the word "Liberty" and to the right. The date 1945, since this coin doesn't have a mint mark. We know it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, which didn't add a mint mark to its coins at that time. On the reverse side of the coin, you'll find the classic wheat penny design, 2 stylized wheat stalks curving along the edges, with the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America in the center. The Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, appears at the top. This simple yet elegant design was used on Lincoln cents from 1909 until 1958, making these coins iconic among collectors. Now let's talk about the coin's condition. Your 1945 wheat penny is described as being in fine condition with some scratches. A coin in fine condition shows moderate wear but retains clear and readable details. On the obverse, Lincoln's facial features and the outlines of his hair and coat should still be visible, although flattened in high points. On the reverse, the wheat stalks will show some detail, but may also be worn and smoothed out. Light scratches are fairly typical for circulated coins and usually do not significantly affect value unless they are deep or disfiguring. The coin is composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, the standard alloy used for Lincoln cents at the time. However, it's worth noting that during the war, in 1943, the U.S. experimented with steel pennies to conserve copper for the war effort. By 1945, copper coinage had resumed, and the coin you have is part of that post-steel wartime copper production. The Philadelphia Mint struck an impressive 1,040,515,000 Lincoln cents in 1945. So while the coin is not rare, its historical significance and age give it collector appeal. Let's now consider the market value. As of today, a 1945 Lincoln Wheat penny from Philadelphia in fine condition typically sells for between 15 to 30 cents USD. While this may not seem like much, keep in mind that this is well above the coin's original face value, and higher grade examples can sell for more. For instance, if this same coin were in extremely fine or uncirculated condition, it could sell anywhere from $1 to $5 or more, depending on color, eye appeal, and overall preservation. That said, there are a few things that could increase the value of any 1945 penny. One is the presence of errors or varieties, such as double dies, repunched mint marks, if from other mints, or off-center strikes. Although errors are more common on some other coins from this era, it's always worth taking a close look with a magnifying glass or under proper lighting to check for anything unusual. If you do find an error, the value could rise significantly, even into the tens or hundreds of dollars for rare varieties. Another factor that can affect value is color and toning. Copper coins change color over time, with uncirculated examples showing a bright reddish tint, while circulated coins range from brown to dark brown. Some collectors favor original red coins, while others enjoy the rich tone of natural brown patina. Your coin, showing scratches and signs of wear, likely falls into the brown color category, which is typical for circulated wheat pennies, despite being a common coin in circulated condition. Your 1945 Lincoln wheat penny is still a piece of American history. It represents an era of sacrifice, unity, and economic strength during one of the most critical periods in U.S. history. While it may not bring in high dollar values at auction, it carries significant sentimental and educational value, especially for those building complete Lincoln cent collections or just starting their coin collecting journey. Next up, the 1939 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny, without a mint mark, in very fine condition with some light scratches. If you've come across this coin in your collection, or perhaps inherited it from a family member, you might be wondering how much it's worth in today's collector market. Let's explore the coin's background, condition, and value in detail. The 1939 Lincoln wheat penny was minted during a significant period in American history, just before the United States entered World War II. This coin represents not only a piece of everyday currency from the late 1930s, but also a symbol of America's economic and political atmosphere in the years leading up to a global conflict. It's part of the long-running Lincoln Cent series, which began in 1909 and continues in modern form today. The Lincoln wheat penny was designed by Victor David Brenner, and its design remained largely unchanged for nearly 50 years. On the obverse side, we have the familiar profile of President Abraham Lincoln facing right. Above his head is the motto "In God We Trust," while liberty appears to the left, and the year 1939 is located on the right. Because this coin does not have a mint mark, we know it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which did not include mint marks on its cents at the time. The reverse side features two stylized wheat stalks curving along the left and right edges of the coin. This is where the coin gets the nickname wheat penny. Between the wheat stalks are the words 1 cent and United States of America. Above those words is the Latin motto E pluribus unum, which means out of many, one. This reverse design was used from 1909 through 1958, making wheat pennies highly collectible today. Now, let's talk about condition. Your coin is described as being in very fine condition, with some light scratches. In numismatics, very fine is a mid-grade condition that indicates the coin has moderate wear from circulation, but still retains many of its original details. On the obverse, Lincoln's hair and coat will show visible signs of wear, but key design elements are still well defined. On the reverse, the wheat ears will have visible lines and shape, even if some detail is smoothed out. Scratches, particularly light ones, are common for coins that have been in circulation for decades. They don't necessarily reduce a coin's value by much, unless the scratches are deep or disrupt major design elements. In your case, since the coin is in otherwise solid, very fine condition, minor scratches will not significantly affect its overall appeal or collector interest. As for composition, the 1939 Lincoln Cent is made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. the standard alloy for cents before the World War II steel penny experiment in 1943. This gives the coin its warm, reddish-brown appearance, though tone can vary depending on how it was stored over the years. Now, let's move on to value. In today's collector market, 1939 Lincoln wheat penny from the Philadelphia Mint in very fine condition generally sells for around 20 to 40 cents. If the coin were in extra fine or uncirculated condition, the price could rise significantly. Anywhere from $1 to $10 or more, depending on the coin's color, eye appeal, and preservation. Proof-like qualities or brilliant red color would also push its value upward. Keep in mind, over 316 million 1939 Lincoln cents were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, so it's not considered rare by mintage numbers alone. However, its age, historical context, and solid condition make it desirable to collectors trying to complete a full set of all of Lincoln wheat cents. From 1909 to 1958, these pre-war coins are often seen as great additions to starter collections and carry educational value as well. Occasionally, collectors come across era varieties that can raise the value of a 1939 penny dramatically. These include double die obverses, off-center strikes, or die cracks. If your coin shows any unusual features under magnification, such as doubling of the date or lettering, it could be worth having professionally graded or appraised. Some era pennies from the 1930s have sold for hundreds of dollars, especially when verified by a reputable grading service. Another factor affecting value is color and toning. Lincoln cents can appear red, red-brown, or brown, depending on their original copper tone and exposure to the elements. Your coin, described as having some scratches and being circulated, likely falls in the red-brown to brown range, which is typical for a coin of this age. Next up, the 1958 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark, found in fine condition, showing some scratches. While at first glance, it may look like just another old penny, this coin carries decades of history and remains a popular collectible for many enthusiasts around the world. Let's take a closer look at what makes this coin special and what it's worth in today's market. The 1958 Lincoln wheat penny marks the final year of the iconic wheat reverse design that began in 1909. That's nearly 50 years of continuous production, with the same iconic reverse featuring two wheat ears surrounding the denomination, 1 cent, and the country's name, United States of America. At the top of the reverse, we see the phrase E pluribus unum, which translates to out of many, one. This design had become a symbol of the era. And by 1959, the reverse would be replaced with the Lincoln Memorial design to mark the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. On the obverse of the 1958 penny, we see the right-facing portrait of Abraham Lincoln, originally designed by Victor David Brenner. Above Lincoln's head is the national motto, "In God We Trust," the word liberty to the left and the date, 1958, to the right. Since your coin does not have a mint mark, it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which at the time did not include mint marks on 1-cent coins. Now, let's talk about the condition of your coin. You mentioned that it is in fine condition, which in numismatic terms means it has seen a fair amount of circulation. There will be noticeable wear on the high points of the design, such as Lincoln's cheek, jaw, and coat, and the wheat ears. On the reverse will show considerable flattening. Despite the wear, the design remains visible, and the coin still has historical appeal. The scratches on the coin are not unusual for coins that have been in pockets, drawers, or old jars for decades. While scratches do reduce the overall eye appeal and may slightly lower the coin's value, they don't eliminate collector interest, especially for someone looking to complete a date run of wheat pennies. The 1958 Lincoln wheat penny was minted in very large quantities. In fact, over 252 million of these coins were struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Because of that high mintage, The 1958 penny is not considered rare, but its historical importance as the final wheat penny makes it a must-have for anyone collecting. The Lincoln series. So what's it worth in today's collector market? For a 1958 wheat penny without mint mark in fine condition, the value is typically around 5 to 15 cents. That might not sound like much, but for a coin that originally cost just a penny, it's still a nice gain. Of course, the value can go higher. If the coin is in uncirculated condition or has vibrant red luster from being well preserved. Some mint state red examples of the 1958 wheat penny can sell for $5 to $25 or even more, depending on the grading. Even more valuable are error varieties from 1958, especially the 1958 doubled die obverse. This rare and highly sought-after error features noticeable doubling of the date and lettering on the obverse. Only a few dozen examples of the 1958 doubled die have been authenticated, and these coins can fetch thousands of dollars at auction, with prices ranging from $5,000 to $100,000, depending on grade and die appeal. While your coin doesn't seem to be one of those rare errors, it's always a good idea to inspect old coins carefully under magnification. You never know what surprises you might find. Let's also touch on the composition of the 1958 wheat penny. Like other pre-1982 Lincoln cents, it is made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Because of the high copper content, the coin has intrinsic metal value, and in fact, the copper melt value is often more than 1 cent. Although melting pennies is illegal in the U.S. under current regulations, still, many collectors and investors hold on to copper pennies in bulk for long-term value. Next up, the 1955 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny, without a mint mark, found in extra fine condition, and showing some scratches. This coin has become a familiar sight in many collections, and for good reason. It marks a key point in the Lincoln cent series and carries a story that many numismatists find intriguing. Let's begin by understanding the background of this coin. The Lincoln wheat penny was first introduced in 1909, replacing the Indian head cent. It was designed by Victor David Brenner, and it featured Abraham Lincoln's right-facing portrait on the obverse. This was the first U.S. coin to depict a real historical figure, and it was released to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The reverse features the Nafama's 2 wheat ears encircling the words 1 cent and United States of America, along with the Latin motto E pluribus unum. On the obverse of your 1955 coin, you'll find the familiar image of President Lincoln. To the left of Lincoln is the word liberty, and to the right is the year 1955. Above his head, the motto "In God We Trust" arches across the top edge of the coin. The absence of a mint mark under the date indicates that the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which, at the time, did not use a mint mark on 1-cent pieces. The year 1955 holds particular importance for Lincoln penny collectors because it is widely known for one of the most famous and sought-after errors in U.S. coinage history, the 1955 doubled die obverse. This extremely rare variety features dramatic doubling of the date and inscriptions on the obverse, making it very noticeable even without magnification. These error coins were the result of a misalignment during the die creation process, and, although only a small number made it into circulation, they quickly became legendary among collectors. However, most 1955 pennies, including the one you've described, are the regular strike, which are still quite collectible, especially in higher grades. Now let's look at the condition of your coin. You mentioned it is in extra fine condition with some scratches. In numismatic terms, extra fine refers to a coin that has light wear on the highest points of the design, but retains sharp detail and much of its original surface texture. Lincoln's facial features, hair, and coat lines will still be quite defined. And on the reverse, the wheat ears will have strong lines with only minimal wear. The presence of scratches does slightly reduce eye appeal, but in this condition, the coin still holds solid collectible value. In terms of mintage, the Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 330 million 1955 wheat pennies. That high production means the coin is not particularly rare in circulated grades, but it remains desirable due to its age, historical context, and the association with the famous double-die variety. So, what's the value of a 1955 Lincoln wheat penny without mint mark, in extra fine condition with some scratches, in today's market? For a circulated example like yours, you can expect a value typically ranging between 25 cents and $1, depending on the overall eye appeal and demand. Coins in higher uncirculated grades with strong red luster can fetch significantly more often, $5 to $15 or more, especially from trusted dealers or auction platforms. Of course, any coin that turns out to be a true 1955 double-die variety, even in worn condition, can command hundreds to thousands of dollars. It's also worth noting the composition of the coin. The 1955 Lincoln cent is made from 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it that distinctive red or brown appearance depending on how it has aged. Many collectors are now accumulating pre-1982 copper pennies for their metal content, as each coin contains more than a cent's worth of copper. However, it's important to remember that melting pennies for their metal content is illegal in the U.S. As always, when evaluating a coin's value, the best approach is to compare recent sales on auction sites like eBay, check with local coin dealers, or even get a professional appraisal if you suspect your coin has unusual features. If you ever come across a 1955 penny with bold, clear doubling on the date and lettering, it's worth taking it to a professional grader to authenticate. You might just have a treasure in your pocket. In conclusion, the 1955 Lincoln wheat penny may be common in circulation, but its historical significance, strong copper composition, and connection to one of the most famous U.S. coin errors give it lasting interest. Even in extra fine condition with a few scratches, it tells a story of a different era and offers a small yet meaningful piece of American history.